Catherine McGoldrick, professor and chair of anesthesiology at New York Medical College and a past president of the Wood Library Museum of Anesthesiology. I have here the archives from the Connecticut State Society of Anesthesiology. Just to briefly sort of review the history, very briefly, of the ASA and the state societies, I would just point out that the ASA essentially goes back to 1905, when it was known as the Long Island Society of Anesthetists. And then in 1936, it became the American Society of Anesthetists. And then in 1945, I believe it became the American Society of Anesthesiologists, the name that we go by today. Well, going back to the 1940s, there really wasn't initially component societies, state component societies. Basically, anesthesiologists got together and formed sections in the state medical societies. In fact, I think it was in 1937 or 38 that the Connecticut anesthesiologists got together and had a section in the State Medical Society, and Ralph Travell was instrumental in that. And then, as I mentioned, the American Society of Anesthesiologists went by that name officially as of 1945. Then in 1947, the Constitution of the ASA made provisions for the states to form component societies. And this was passed toward the end of 1947. And in April of 1948, Connecticut became the Connecticut State Society of Anesthesiologists. And I had the pleasure actually of serving as president of the CSSA from 1998 to 2000. And it was in 2007 that the Wood Library Museum of Anesthesiology we purchased these archives. And here you can see, I thought you'd enjoy seeing the seal of the Connecticut Society of Anesthesiologists, which actually became the Connecticut State Society, CSSA, 1948. And here in the center is, of course, Horace Wells, who was so instrumental in the founding, if you will, of surgical anesthesia. He, Crawford Long, William T.G. Morton were some of the major players. And so here, he being a son of Connecticut, we honored him. And in going through these archives, some of the correspondence goes back to the 1950s. And Ralph Travell, who really essentially founded the Connecticut State Society of Anesthesiologists and was its secretary, engaged in a lot of correspondence having to do with the very important issue in the 1950s of, was it legal for hospitals to hire physicians and have them practice as hired doctors of the hospital? And that engendered a great deal of correspondence and debate, and some very interesting papers pertaining to that are contained herein. So when you come to the Wood Library, please stop by and review these documents. I think you find them quite interesting.